In honor of Nick Chubb, and hopefully the Browns bring him back, welcome into the 24th episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. I am Kevin. We've got producer Eric behind the camera. Always happy to have him behind the camera helping us out. And then obviously co-host Jerome. He's back at it again with us. So Jerome, how we doing this week, man?
We're doing all right, man. There's a lot going on. We got a lot.
Yeah, there is.
A lot of stuff to cover right now. It's a busy sports time of the year. And so, there's plenty to dive into, man.
Yeah, plenty of it. I know that we had been talking, and let's start right where this weekend left off, and let's start with the Masters. This is the first real Masters that I have really had the pleasure of watching almost start to finish. I had a couple breaks, but you and I spent about all day Sunday watching it, and I know you were very proud of me considering
let's give him a round of applause. I mean, this guy's come a long way, folks. This is a guy who used to make fun of me for watching the Masters, and he was into it on the edge of our couch. He couldn't get enough Masters on Masters.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. It was fun to see, and I really thought when Rory missed that putt, I really thought that I don't know why I'm blanking on his name now. Justin Rose. Yeah. I really thought he was going to end up coming back. I thought Rory was going to choke it. It was cool to see him get the Grand Slam, though. First Grand Slam that I have ever seen in my life, I know for sure. I believe Tiger got one in early 2000.
So the last Grand Slam, Tiger had done it very early in his career. And, we'll give Rory his props here. I want to make sure that we get that in there. First Grand Slam, sixth Grand Slam, Tiger, Jack, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, and Gene Sarzan. So first Grand Slam in a long time. And then, Kevin, it was a much anticipated Grand Slam because remember, this is a guy who had the other three majors done 11 years ago. So, this is basically him coming to Augusta. And I thought the coolest part was the raw emotion when Rory finally did get that done. You could tell this is something that's ate alive in him for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. You could tell by the raw emotion. It actually, for some reason, just the hands on the head and drop down, it reminded me of, honestly, not to bring it back full circle to Cleveland sports, but it reminded me a lot of LeBron's reaction when the Cavs won the title in 2016.
Yeah, you could say that was a similar reaction for sure. I'm going to give a very hot take here, unpopular opinion, that folks aren't going to probably like. I kind of was rooting for Justin Rose.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is, with me being a new golf watcher, I just wanted to watch a good tournament, and I was hoping that it was going to go to a 19th. Yeah. So, which was fun to see. Which, side note, did you see that there's a very, very popular picture now of when Rory collapsed, hands on the head, bent over crying? Did you see who took that picture?
The one and only, to relate it back to producer Eric, because he's a Cincinnati Red legend, Ken Griffey Jr. took that picture.
Took a very it's an immaculate picture. I'll call it for
beautiful.
What it is. It's a beautiful picture.
It is.
And it's very cool that he took it. I think that just cements it as one of the best sports moments ever too. Just with having just at the bottom left, picture taken by Ken Griffey Jr. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a baseball legend who, obviously as great of a player as he was for the Reds, probably more of even a Mariners legend.
For sure.
Yeah, taking a picture of one of the greatest golfers of our era. Obviously we're both in our 20s. We weren't around for Jack and, definitely not Gary Player. The first legend we really saw was Tiger, and he really hasn't, for the better part of, a decade. Obviously you had Augusta when he won in 2019, but he hasn't really been playing at that high of a level in a long, long time. And it was really cool. And I thought Justin Rose and producer Derek pulling up the picture right now for us, which is just
so cool.
Such a great picture. If you haven't tweeted it or haven't seen it, it is all over X. It's pretty much everywhere.
I think you could pretty much just look up Rory McIlroy, Ken Griffey Jr., and I'm sure it'll be the first thing that is that what producer Eric he's confirming that's what he looked up.
Yeah, that's what he did. So no, it was really cool. Look, I was happy for Rory. I've never been a huge Rory fan, but I respect his game and I respect all that he's done for golf. Justin Rose, however, I thought was a class act, as he always has been. Yeah. And the interview he gave with Amanda Balionis and was really classy. And I for Rose, it's got to be heartbreaking too, because he's come close 2 or 3 different times at Augusta now, and that is like the epitome of golf greatness, winning that tournament. Sure. I know there's 3 other majors, but to me, that's the one. that's the one that you have folks who don't watch golf all year long who are tuned in on that Sunday evening watching that.
And I will also say, for a golfer, and this is side note, this is not related to Justin Rose, but Bryson DeChambeau was interviewed after too, and I thought it was pretty cool just because I know he's known for being more of an arrogant player that a lot of the golfers don't really get along with, and I thought he had a slice of humble pie with how he performed on day 2 of the Masters.
Yeah, I agree.
Or on Sunday, I should say.
Yeah, day 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The final round. I think overall Bryson's matured. Now, I know people were giving him flack for being bluntly honest when they asked him about his interaction with McIlroy, and he said, quote, he wouldn't talk to me. But I don't really think it's fair the backlash Rory's receiving from that, Kevin, because obviously we know the pressure that was on Rory. Look, he had a chance to do something that only 5 other legends have done, and obviously this is a course that's haunted him for a long time. So, we know how focused you have to be if you're going to win the Masters. Rory not talking is not that big of a deal to me.
Well, yeah, and you and I had actually said that he was probably on the 16th or 17th hole, and I believe I had said to you he looks locked in.
Yes.
Because they were
walking
loud,
the fairway.
Very loud crowd, and I looked at you and I said, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't hear one thing going on right now. And that was before the Bryson DeChambeau interview. So Bryson DeChambeau could have very well said something to him, and Rory just did not hear it, didn't acknowledge it. I actually believe that from DeChambeau, because from what I saw, it looked like Rory didn't have anything else on his mind than just hitting the ball.
No. Yeah, he was locked in for sure. And I'm not blaming McIlroy for that. Talk to any of the other legends. You think Tiger, when in his greatness run, was talking to his playing partners all day? Probably not.
No.
If you're gonna compete at that level, you have to be locked in. And Rory McIlroy was locked in. And overall, like I said, Kevin, I think golf's caught a lot of flack. And obviously the great thing about these majors is that you do get the live players to come back and play them, and you do get all the best players of the world. And golf, it's been pretty scrutinized, obviously, with the big divide between the live and the PGA the last few years. This was almost felt like a moment in a day that golf needed, and the ratings proved that they were through the roof on Sunday.
Yeah, I thought they were phenomenal. And side note off of that, I know there was, I believe it was a major last year that Rory blew. Was it the Masters?
No.
Because I remember watching that one live too.
It was ironically last year's U.S. Open, who was his playing partner and who won that U.S. Open? Bryson DeChambeau.
That's funny.
Yeah, so
that is funny, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. That is an interesting tidbit of information for sure. And I think one last thing I want to say here, and I'm not the first to say it, and certainly won't be the last, but I mean, Jim Nantz calling the Masters to me is just sports excellence.
He was good.
And I thought him and Trevor Immelman did 2008 Masters champion, did a wonderful job of just letting the crowd have that moment. All day long. They didn't talk too much. They didn't interrupt. When Rory hit that, they didn't say anything for a good couple minutes there. And same with when Rose hit his putt to force the playoff, essentially, which ended up being the putt to force the playoff on 18, that long putt on the green.
Mm-hmm.
They let the crowd have the moment. And sometimes in sports, that's really nice when you just let the crowd naturally have the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen that at Cleveland sporting events too.
Oh, yeah.
When they took and this was actually it was a technical error, but that started that Cavs Magic game 1, where the first 2-3 minutes of the game, it was just the crowd. You remember that? That was pretty cool.
No,
but
absolutely.
I completely get what you're saying. When those big moments happen, and it's a lot of times you don't want to have just somebody talking over that. You want to just embrace that moment and let the moment happen, and the viewers get to see it. And I thought it was perfect.
Yep, CBS does a wonderful job in their production of the Masters. They really do. They nail it every year, and I know that Nantz said I think he's got 11 more in him, and I hope that maybe even more than that, because this guy hasn't missed a beat in all his years doing the Masters, in my opinion. All right, well, that's the first time that we've really got into golf on this podcast.
Had a segment dedicated to it.
Now that my co-host is into it, we might have to do a little segment we're not going to bore you guys every week with it. I like to watch every week. Well, I do,
it's
but
not the golf realm.
But this is not the CGR here, the Cleveland golf realm.
Yeah,
so
I got it.
But for the PGA and the U.S. Open and obviously the British Open, we will touch on it a little bit here and there.
Sure.
So now that we got you into it, we got to go with it, man.
I guess so.
And I do know that some of our loyal listeners out there, some of them do enjoy following golf as well. So hope you guys enjoyed our first real breakdown of golf here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into something that we've covered pretty much every week since we began this thing 24 weeks ago, and that is the Cleveland Browns. He's back.
He's back.
He's back.
News broke a day after the last episode dropped, so unfortunately we didn't get to it last week. But Joe Flacco is back.
We're wacko for Flacco. Once again.
Let the Flacco around and find out.
Yep. I thought you were going to say something else there that might get us to have to put the E category on our platforms, but no, okay. I mean, it's exciting. It feels like, the first real thing that their fans have genuinely been excited about in a while.
Off-season move-wise, specifically.
Well,
Absolutely.
just anything. Because even the end of last season was brutal. And, right. I mean, here's the thing. Whether Joe Flacco reincarnates himself and performs like he did in 2023, that remains to be seen. I mean, let's not forget the guy is 41, 42 years old. But just even the PR move of it was smart. And I honestly think with how well he performed in Kevin Stefanski's offense, Kevin, I think there might be a little bit something left in the tank, and it might work out all right.
I think so, too. I mean, we saw Joe Flacco have his struggles in New York and then had his struggles again in Indy, and right in between there was the Browns, and the magic seemed to strike there. So I love getting him back with Stefanski. I would love to see us bring Amari Cooper back. I'm not sure what a contract would look like on that, just with how their connection was. And it didn't seem like that was the greatest of breakups between the Browns and Amari, with Amari seemingly posting some subtweets or some posts about the Browns. It seemed like before his
but
exit.
a lot of that was directed at 4, and 4 is not part of the equation.
At least that's our assumption.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty fair one, too.
I think so, too.
So,
but, yeah, I think Flacco being back with Stefanski, rhythm of the offense, I'm happy to have him back. We just need a quarterback that's going to make that's just going to complete the easy passes. So can't complain.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I know he might be, for football player terms, old. He is. He's 40.
He is.
He's in his 40s, but I would much rather 10 times out of 10 see Joe Flacco start week 1 than Kenneth Pickett.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And I know
Do you think this completely takes quarterback off the board now at 2?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I do.
100%.
I actually do. Joe Flacco did some local media today. He was on the really big show on ESPN 850 WKNR, and he had the politically correct answer of saying, I have no expectation for who's going to start a quarterback. But look at the contract, and if you really look at the finite language of it, a lot of it are incentives based upon the Browns winning. And so I think, that tells me 2 things. One, I don't know if he's going to finish the season, but he's at least going to be your 2025 kickoff weekend starter, your opening day starter.
Yep.
That tells me that. And the other thing that tells me is Joe Flacco really does believe that what he had here in 2023 wasn't lightning in a bottle. He thinks he can recapture it for a more extended period of time, because why would you agree to a contract where a lot of your incentives are based upon team success? So he clearly believes that something here is going to go right.
Well, that and from what I was reading, he passed up offers from the Steelers and the Vikings too, which seem to be in better spots than the Browns in order to win right now.
Sure they are.
So, yeah, I think you're 100% right with that.
I'll give Tony Grossi, longtime Browns beat reporter, a little bit of credit on this one too. He had mentioned it, and he kept saying it, keep an eye on Flacco, keep an eye on Flacco. And a lot of people were like, Grossi, he doesn't really know what he's talking. But he said, he's like, my sources tell me they had a serious, like the first time at the Combine, there was some real conversation about it. Okay, the Combine was what, about a month ago, Mr. Draft?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so about a month ago. So that makes sense. If the first real conversations were about a month ago, you work out, you have preliminary conversations that turned into him taking this $4 million deal with incentives that could be up I think
13.
According to Schefter,
20. Yeah, 13 million.
Yes. So they believe that what happened here can be repeated. Look, there's a lot going against them though. Let's not act like, let's not think this is fool's gold here. There's a lot going against them. Joe's age, the sample size is going to be a lot bigger. He didn't play great in Indianapolis last year, but again, when you think about all the way back to the root of Joe Flacco's success in his career, it's based upon a system of the Gary Kubiak offense, which is what Kevin Stefanski runs. He's a disciple of that offense. And think about when Joe had his greatest success in Baltimore, who was his OC, it was Gary Kubiak. So, and then it was Rick Dennison, who was another Gary Kubiak disciple. So to me, from a philosophical X's and O point of view, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think you could actually make an argument that Joe's going to be put into a better position this year than he was in 2023. He's going to have a full offseason behind him. He's going to be with, a Pro Bowl receiver again, but this time it's going to be Jerry Jeudy, not Amari Cooper. We're assuming right now that the news is the Browns are leaning Travis Hunter at 2. And if you're putting him at receiver, all of a sudden now you've got Jerry Jeudy and Travis Hunter at receiver. Obviously, David Njoku back at tight end. Him and Flacco had a great chemistry in 2023. And you're probably looking at a better offensive line, in my opinion, because you've got the same left guard through right tackle. But I'm assuming that Jed Wills is being replaced by Tevin Jenkins, who had a solid career with the Bears. Even though he's listed as a guard, I think you can move him over to left tackle.
The only thing with Jenkins is the injuries, right? They've added up quite a bit. But when the guy's healthy, he's actually been pretty good on the field.
Yeah, he's been a very solid player.
So, no, I agree with you.
And possibly adding another running back in. Maybe Nick Chubb comes back, and he's, like we've talked about before, I don't think we're ever going to see, 2020 Nick Chubb again. But you give him 30, 40% of the snaps, maybe play a rookie that we draft in round 2 or 3, something like that. I think Joe Flacco is going to be put into a nice position here.
Yeah, I agree. And, another thing, I don't want to get Browns fans too excited. And, it's not me saying this, so I'm going to take myself, don't shoot the messenger here. But okay. Mary Kay wrote an article that, there could be a reunion with Nick Chubb is very much still could be in place.
I hope so.
And I hope Mary Kay is right. And the first comment to Mary Kay on Twitter was, Mary Kay, don't do this to us. Please make it true. Don't break our hearts like this.
Yeah, which, Mary Kay, I'm going to give her some credit here. She's been writing a lot of stuff lately before it's happened. So
go back to about 2020 or 2019 when Mary Kay was the first one to basically tell everybody that Baker and Odell didn't fit. And a lot of people wrote her off. Everything that she wrote in that initial column in the Plain Dealer proved to be correct.
Yeah, it ended up coming to fruition, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll give Mary Kay credit for on that, and I hope that she's right about the Chubb stuff. And hopefully next Tuesday we're sitting here talking about Batman being back.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I really am. That'd be some great news to hear right before the draft, I think.
Yeah, and I think the Flacco thing, look, I was at the Guardians game on Friday, and so they showed a jolly man wearing a Joe Flacco jersey, and the place went nuts.
Yeah.
The Flacco mania on this town was insane, man.
It was one of the coolest times to be a Cleveland sports fan, without question.
I would say it might have been short, but this is more of how pathetic the Browns have been since we've been around. It was one of the best times to be a Browns fan.
Since we've been alive, 100%.
Yeah, since we've been established. Yeah.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I know it that's why I'm jealous of all the folks who tell me the memories of the 80s they have, because that must have been, wow, you go to the playoffs every year and you win the division.
Yep.
We don't even know what that's like. Our best memories are an ex-Ravens quarterback getting up off his couch, throwing to his brother at his high school, and then coming in here and saving the season. Yeah. And it was wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but that shouldn't be our best memory ever.
No, I would argue our best memory ever is 100% putting that beat down on the Steelers in the wild card round of 2020.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You're 100% right.
Without a doubt.
I shouldn't overlook
I just wish there were Steeler fans in attendance for that, because that would have been glorious. But regardless, no, that was 2020 was a different year, but 2023 was an absolute blast. the first season I can ever remember really enjoying Browns football to the point of maybe thinking playoffs, and unfortunately we didn't make it, being 10 years old, 2007.
Yeah.
That was a fun year. And you know what? All we had to do was split with Pittsburgh, and we won the division, and we couldn't do it.
Remember Browns fans penning letters to Jim Sorgi.
There's
Sorgi. A name for you.
I'll never forget that game, man. Colts-Titans, and we needed the Colts to win. And, of course, they benched Peyton Manning because they had already had the bye week locked up.
Yeah, Browns fans penning letters to Jim Sorgi. Wonder what the hell that guy's doing now.
Yeah, I've got no clue. I don't think I've paid attention to what Jim Sorgi's done in probably 18 years. Considering that was in 2007.
Yeah, I have no idea. No, I couldn't tell you. But no, all in all, it was a good look. And I remember, talking to folks. I was at the team shop doing some Christmas shopping around that year. And I was talking to the folks who worked down at the team shop, and they literally could not keep up with the demand of Flacco jerseys.
Yeah, which is crazy because how many Flacco jerseys have you actually seen around this city? I think I've maybe seen 3. And that's in the last year and a half.
No, I could tell you from being at every game last season, there were a lot of 15 jerseys in the stands, man. There really were.
Were they Greg Little jerseys? Were they Joe Flacco
15
jerseys?
15 is in Joe Flacco.
Devon Bess?
No, stop it. They were Joe Flacco jerseys. No.
I think Marlon Moore. No. Or was he number 10?
No, he was 15. No, seriously, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of folks did wear Joe Flacco jerseys, and I'm glad for them they could bring those things out of the closet after 1 year again.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool in 20, 30 years talking about that year, just because it's this guy who was beaten up on us for probably a little bit over a decade, won a Super Bowl with our rival team, came and led us to a playoff run, and came here when we were 500 at the time.
Yeah,
I think we were 5-5, 6-6, somewhere in there, somewhere in that range.
I hope that he can recapture, and I hope it wasn't lightning in a bottle. Look, like I said, there's a lot of things working against him, but Kevin is one with some pretty dire quarterbacks. Don't forget, before Joe Flacco Mania all started, we needed a game against the Steelers, and Kevin was able to carve up a game-winning drive for DTR. So he can win with just about anybody.
Yeah, and we had a bad year in 2022. We've brought this up before, but he ran a very, very stellar offense with Jacoby Brissett at the helm.
Yeah, all the geeky metrics had the Browns very much up top, which makes sense because the Browns are ran by geeky metric people, so that they usually grade out well in those things.
Yeah.
So no, 100%. I hope, like you pointed out, and I agree with your point. Joe and Kevin sitting in the lab for a whole off season could bring good things, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. And this kind of leads us, I want to say, into our next topic, Browns-wise, NFL draft-wise. We had alluded to before that, this probably does take quarterback off the table at number 2 overall. So effectively, we're thinking between Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, favorite probably being Hunter right now. Do you see Browns going quarterback in round 2 or 3? And if so, who would you look at as somebody to maybe sit behind Flacco, get used to the offense? You think there's anybody in this draft that Stefanski can mold?
Well, a couple things off that I want to start with before I answer your question. I will get there.
Okay.
First of all, is quarterback in my mind necessarily off the board at 2? In my mind, I would still entertain it, but they're not. I don't think they're going to. And the reason I say that is because Adam Schefter, who historically him and Ian Rappaport are as plugged in as everybody, says Schefter thinks it takes quarterback off the board for them at 2, so therefore I do.
Okay. So you do.
Yes. And you're here, and Schefter said that. A couple other folks who are pretty plugged in, including Albert Breer, we've heard that from. So the insiders do believe that. So yeah, I do think quarterback's probably off the board at 2, and as I'm sitting here tonight, it's probably Travis Hunter. In my honest opinion, I would love to see the Browns take quarterback with that first pick of the second round. And to me, I don't know, and I said that last week, and I'm going to double down on that. I absolutely would, because listen, Joe Flacco being back is great, but again, the guy is ancient in NFL terms. You have to still, and I said it at the beginning when we first started talking about the draft, and I'll say it again. If they do not draft a quarterback, it is a failure of a draft.
100% agree. But
so to me, it's still the position they probably need the most. Like we're excited here in Cleveland because we have great memories of Joe Flacco. The rest of the league's still like, hey, Cleveland ain't going anywhere. Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett are their quarterback room. So, like, to me, at 30, whatever that pick is.
33. It's the first pick of the second round.
Okay, it's got to be quarterback. Or let's say the board quarterbacks start falling like crazy. Use some ammo and trade back up in the first round and get one. Like, no matter what.
Let me ask you something about this. So there are 17 college athletes that are going to the NFL draft that were invited. 4 of them are quarterbacks. You've got Cam Ward, I believe Shador's going, Jackson Dart, and Jalen Milroe, believe it or not.
Yeah,
if all 4 of those quarterbacks are gone, what are you trading up for?
I guess you're screwed.
Are you still taking somebody at 33, or are you still taking a quarterback, even though those are, let's say, the top 4 guys? Are you just taking a quarterback because, hey, we need a quarterback? Or are you looking at, hey, you know what, we could use, let's say, another receiver. If it's not Travis Hunter, they go with it too. Do you look at an Emeka Ibuka there? Do you look at a Travion Henderson or a Caleb Johnson? Some of these running backs, some of these receivers that might be falling down the board that are also areas in which this team needs help.
Yeah, no, I see your point, but I actually think Will Howard's going to go a lot sooner than people think. So I would if there's a lot of people who Will Howard's a very polarizing figure this draft. You hear folks who think he's going to be a great pro, and you hear folks who think he's going to be a bust. It's very, 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 very split on Will Howard. To me, I think if the Browns are in that Will Howard camp, then snatch Will at 33. What the hell? They have nothing to lose.
I think there's worse things. I think there's worse things they can do. I really do think there are worse things they can do. I've been on record, the last couple months about how high I am on Will Howard, and I will say I'm cementing him as my QB2 of the draft behind Cam Ward. I think he's better than Shador. I think he's better than Dart.
Wow.
I think he's better than Milroe. And I'm a Buckeye hater. You know this.
Yeah, you hate the Buckeyes.
I hate the Buckeyes, and then the top 3 guys I want at pick 33 are Will Howard, Emeka Ibuka, and Travion Henderson.
Well, that's because Ohio State produces great winners.
They're great athletes. They're great players.
Great winners.
I think Travion Henderson might be the best running back in this entire draft.
Wow, really?
I really do.
And you look at this stuff a lot more in depthly than I do. Not saying I don't. Now, the quarterback to me that I think I've told you this off, the pod too. The quarterback that I really like is I like the Dart kid, man. I really do. I think there's something there with him.
I don't mind Dart. I think he's fine. I think he's a second-round pick.
But if people start hooting and hollering about these quarterbacks and they go early, then yeah, I would probably still see what I could do at 33. But if you see, like, let's say you see a crazy, let's say Shador goes and then somebody takes Jalen Milroe or something.
Yeah.
If the Browns, and that's their job as the general, as the football operations department, they start sensing that and they like one of those kids, go up and get them, man. Use some of these ammunition. Like,
I agree.
Go up and get your Jackson Dart because the chances that every quarterback they love is going to be there at 33 is just impossible. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And this is what we talked about last week. I remember, I had said that I don't want them to take a quarterback at 33 regardless. I'd rather them just trade up in because we talked about they've got 4 or 5 6th-round picks, 2/3. There is not room on this team for 10 rookies, in my opinion. So move a couple of those 6th rounders, maybe move your 4th round pick, move up into the if you love Jackson Dart, if you love Shador Sanders and he falls, then go up and get him. Like I can live with that move, knowing that there's a guy that you want and you didn't wait for him and you went and got him. We'll live with the repercussions from there. I don't want a story coming out 2-3 years from now that Jackson Dart's a stud. The Browns loved him, but we're too scared to move into the first round. At least go if you miss, at least you went down swinging.
Right. But if the dominoes fall the other way and things start looking the other way, just chill out at 33 and take some quarterback.
Or if there's no quarterback you love, there's still plenty of talent on the board. plenty of talent on the board to help out, like I said, at running back, at receiver. There's a couple safeties that might fall down. Maybe we draft a safety to help out and maybe battle Ronnie Hickman for a starting position.
And 33 is not a bad spot to be, because years and years ago, I heard one of the great draft geeks of all time, the great Mel Kiper, said, the first round, you're either going to get boom or total bust. He goes, where you really build the core of your team and you have the best chance of getting the best pros is the second round.
And that's where the Browns have made a living on the second round ever since I can remember. Literally ever since I can remember. The Eric Wrights, the Jabal Sheards, the Mitchell Schwartzes, the Nick Chubbs, the Joel Batonios.
Sure.
All these TJ Ward, they've made a killing in the second round. Grant Delpit, JOK. They make an absolute killing in the second round, and they have. It doesn't matter what regime's in place. The Browns do a great job in the second round.
You're 100% right. They've stunk at drafting. Boy, have they stunk at drafting. But for whatever reason, they seem to always find. And a lot of these guys you mentioned, they're not anywhere near Hall of Famers, but they're not awful.
Solid play. Emmanuel Ogbah, another one that comes to mind.
They're good, and that's what Mel Kiper's point. And I remember hearing that. I remember hearing him say that probably close to 20 years ago when I was a young, spry lad. I watched Sports Center in my parents' living room, and it's so true, man. I really believe that. That's and you just listed Mr. Draft himself over here rattled off about 15 different Browns second rounders.
You want another second rounder real quick? Who we both loved. He just didn't pan out due to injuries.
Who's that?
Montario Hardesty.
Yeah, I think he would have been real good.
I think he would have been okay.
His knees gave out on him.
Yeah,
I do agree with you there.
We actually tweeted out a picture of Montario Hardesty for the 20 days left until the draft. If you were to check our X at CLE Sports.
More importantly, we tweeted one of my favorite Browns of all time. 11 days till the draft this Sunday. Kevin eloquently tweeted a Muhammad Massaquoi picture.
Yeah, game-winning touchdown against the Dolphins.
That was awesome.
Yep.
I don't know if any of our audience loved it, but one of the co-hosts sure as hell did. All right, let's talk about let's hit on one more Browns thing here real quick, Kevin, before we shift gears here. Julian Okwara, obviously, Notre Dame guy, had a solid start to his career at the Lions. I know he's battled some injuries here and there, but not a bad depth piece. And they probably paid him a chunk of change in NFL terms, so why not?
Yeah, he's a fine. He's fine. He's a third or fourth edge rusher in your system. It looks like they're probably going to go Miles and. Is Obo Okoronkwo, is he part of the team or did we cut him? Because I know
he's still around.
Okay, he's still around. Isaiah McGuire, I'm really excited for Isaiah McGuire this year.
He was one of the few things that was worth watching about the second half of the Browns season last year.
Yeah, I was
Jerry Jeudy on offense and him on defense.
Yeah, he was very exciting. There were a lot of things. He's got a very quick step. He's pretty powerful. He's twitchy. What a lot of the experts say. I was excited about Isaiah McGuire. I'm excited to see if he comes into a full-time role this year, how that actually translates with his production opposite of Myles Garrett. I think there's a lot of things to be excited for right now, actually.
Well, then can't forget about the other guy they gave money from Tampa, the pass rusher, Joe Tryon.
Oh, yeah, Joe Tryon, Shoyinka.
Yeah.
Shoyinka.
So they've built, look, we know the albatross is hamstringing them. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
But for what little money they've had to piss away in free agency, they've done an okay job.
Yeah, I think they've done just fine.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have any money to spend, and that's all going to one guy who stinks, and that's just the way it is. And
yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they've worked well around the margins, and I would say this is another work well around the margins. We don't have much money. Low risk, high reward play with Julian Okwara.
Yep, which is exactly what basically Andrew Berry's model has been ever since the Deshaun contract. So
sure.
But yeah.
One last thing before we shift into baseball and basketball here. And I wanted to ask you, so all the insiders claim the Browns aren't taking a quarterback at 2.
Right.
How far do you think Prime's son slides now? Because you read these I read one mock draft a week. You read probably one a day. So
I actually a lot of times I'll recap the night, go up to bed around 10 p.m. and throw on a couple mock draft videos. 'Cause I like to hear the explanations too. But yeah.
So do you think the Giants take him if the Browns pass on him? Like, how far is this kid gonna fall?
I don't think the Giants are gonna take him. I think unless somebody trades up, I really don't see him getting past New Orleans at 9. I just think with what's come out with Derek Carr, where that franchise is, they're almost in. I would consider the Saints in NFL purgatory right now. They're almost too good to really be. I mean, I guess they are They have a top 10 pick, but they're acting as if they're a competitive football team.
Right.
But they kind of have to. If Carr wants out, if this shoulder injury is looming, you got to go get your franchise quarterback. You don't know when. If you're going to be in NFL purgatory, you don't know when your next top 10 pick's going to come in order to pick that guy. If I'm the Saints, I would look heavily at it. I don't think he's going to get past them. If he does, I know a lot of the pundits out there think it's going to end up being the Steelers. And from what I've heard, Mike Tomlin absolutely loves him. So I think that's his absolute floor, but I think he ends up going 9 to the Saints.
And look, I think now that, a lot of people had spoken about out of the Pittsburgh market that they thought Rodgers were going to show up to that big McAfee event that was in Pittsburgh.
Never did.
Never showed up, never came. I think if I'm the Steelers, look, man, OTAs are coming up soon. How long can you wait around? I think the guy might just not play. So, Pittsburgh desperately need, right now, they're looking at Mason Rudolph as their starter.
Which, to be honest, I'd rather have him than Kenny Pickett, though. Right?
Yeah, but I think I'd rather have Joe than both.
100%. I'd rather have Flacco than both. Yeah, I don't know what if...
I don't think Shedeur gets past the Saints either, and I also think it's very interesting how nobody knew about this Derek Carr injury, and then all of a sudden we get around the draft.
Yeah.
And the Shedeur rumors to the Saints start flowing. Did they beat the guy with the pan in the shoulder? What the hell they do to this guy?
I actually read a report because a lot of steam has started coming out, I guess, of the Giants potentially looking at Shedeur, like you were just saying a couple minutes ago, and that came out after the Carr injury, and a lot of people think that it's to stir up rumors so that somebody trades up with the Giants so that they can basically get a king's ransom so a team can move up and grab a quarterback.
I don't know if the best environment for a rookie quarterback is Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. I think
it also could be a pretty good environment.
I think Jameis would be really good, but Russ kind of seems like a me guy.
Yeah, but honestly, in my opinion, so does Shedeur.
So I don't know.
So the thing is, if Shedeur goes,
we have different opinions on Shedeur. We've gone over that.
If Shedeur goes to the Giants, the thing that I think very much benefits him is unless the fan base pressures them into playing him, there's almost a 0% shot he plays in year one.
Which I think would benefit him.
I think it would benefit him greatly. And you've got Malik Neighbors. So you've got a stud. You've got an absolute stud at wide receiver to throw to. Yeah, I think they end up going Abdul Carter, though, the Giants, if I were to guess. And not that they have a need for edge, but you're up the side. Go grab one of those blue-chip players. You've got a starting quarterback already, and maybe figure it out next year in terms of the long-term answer.
All right. Yeah, I could see that. It'll be interesting. We'll dive all into this next week a little bit more. Kevin will probably watch 77 more mock drafts before then.
Minimum.
Oh, God. I'll probably watch about 6 more. I'll stay in the loop, but I won't go crazy with it. I'm sure we'll hear, because as we get closer, and we're recording this on Wednesday, so 8 days out, this is when the rumors start to fly off the handle.
Yep.
Things are going nuts. So I'm sure, as silly as this silly season has been, I'm sure it's about to get a hell of a lot sillier these last 8 days.
With 1 week to go.
So we'll talk about it all next week. So let's move on, Kevin. You want to go baseball or basketball first? I say
let's go baseball.
Go baseball?
Yeah. Were you leaning basketball? It looked like maybe.
Yeah, that's okay. I see. Actually, if I, would follow the wonderful rundown here that producer Eric displays for us on our monitor, that maybe I should see that the plan was baseball, and I try to go off derail the train.
That's
so let me get back on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Cleveland Guardians. Kevin, 2 out of 3 from Kansas City, 4-2 overall in the year at Kansas City. I know it's early, but boy, those division games come back to haunt you when you don't win them in April, in September. So that's a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And then go into a team that they caught. Baltimore is going to be good, I believe, but they're catching them on a little cold streak. Go in there and win last night, and let's see. I believe
Which Logan Allen, what an absolute gem he pitched.
That might have been one of his best outings since his rookie year.
I would argue it may be his best outing ever that we've seen out of him. 5 2/3. What was it? 5 innings of no-hit baseball, and then he allowed a couple base runners, and then old Voter, typical Voter, pulls him out. Couldn't let him get one more out to get the quality start.
Nope. But I remember he had a couple really good ones his rookie year. Obviously, we're down 4-1 right now to them, but it's okay.
Oh, are we?
Go get them tomorrow. I'll split the series. Maybe come back tonight. Baltimore's bullpen's been a little bit volatile here early in the year. No, I thought Logan Allen was excellent last night, and I mean, you know what? If that's what you're going to get, and you're not going to get that every time, but so far, I think Logan Allen's been just fine, if not better than fine, for a fifth starter.
I think so too.
I mean, he's really done a good job, and I thought it was smoke and mirrors because he had a great spring last year and he stunk. He had another excellent spring this year, and he really didn't. So a lot of people, including me, were like, we'll see.
Yeah.
And so far, it's early, but he looks really good. And the biggest thing with him is, look, he does not throw gas. I mean, his fastball, 91 at best. The biggest thing for him is hitting his spots, and then he's got to be precisely accurate with his breaking ball, and so far so good this year with that.
Yeah, so far so good. And we had talked in the season preview episode a few weeks ago that we thought Logan Allen and Luis Ortiz were going to be the streaky parts of this rotation, and it was nice to see Luis Ortiz come back from his poor performance, and he had a good showing the other night.
Yeah, so he I'd say he's given you 2 out of 3. The first was a clunker, no doubt, but pitched pretty well at Angel Stadium. Left a couple hanging breaking balls for guys you just can't do it for, including Logan O'Hoppe. And then Saturday night, I mean, he struck out everybody. I mean, 10 punchies.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And only 2 walks. And he trusted his stuff. And, Guardians color commentator Rick Manning on the TV side was saying the other day, he goes, the guy's stuff is really good. If the kid trusts his stuff, he could be really a very, very effective pitcher. But, you did say that they were going to be the streaky parts. And so far, I mean, for a 4 and a 5, it's really,
can't ask for more, really.
No, I think they've been really good. The thing
with Ortiz is the command too. We still see the wild pitches that seem like 3 to 4 feet out of the zone, and then the fastballs that seem to be going right down the middle.
Right.
We'd like to see him hit his spots a little bit more, but through 3 games, better than what I expected through 3 games for him.
Yeah, I would say, I had high expectations for Ortiz, so he's about maybe 10 punch-outs. I didn't see that, so maybe I'm going to say a little bit better than I thought. The one to me, though, is Vogt eloquently always calls him low, has really shocked me. I thought he was going to stink. I thought he'd already be pitching for the Clippers at this point, quite honestly.
Well, I'm happy he's not.
No.
Because, it's nice to have that left-hander in the rotation, too.
Absolutely, and that's a potent Baltimore lineup. I mean, the bats are loaded. I mean, you're talking Adley Rutschman,
Henderson.
I mean, Cedric Mullins. I mean, that's a good lineup. Yep. So, you know what? Jordan Westberg, the list goes on and on.
Mountcastle's still there, right?
Oh, yeah. Mounty's still there. So, like I said, you can't complain. Look, I mean, if they win today, they're going to, as of this recording, they're going to take first place because the Tigers lost today. But, I mean, all in all, through the early going, can't complain. They finally swept the White Sox, although the White Sox definitely helped them do that the first 2 days. But game 3, they won all on their own. So, no, I mean, not a whole lot to complain about early going. This kid, Angel Martinez, my, as of going into tonight's game, 8 of 14, Kevin, the kid just exuberates confidence right now.
Yeah, it's great to have another switch hitter in the lineup, too, and I think he plays pretty decent defense for being a new outfielder as of last year.
Yes.
I think he plays some pretty good defense. He had that little bit of a clunker of a play last night where he dove for the ball, missed the ball didn't even hit his glove. It just cracked his wrist a little bit.
Yeah.
And medical came out. He looked fine and stayed in the game.
Back in the lineup tonight.
And he stayed in the game in that moment too. So, Angel Martinez has been absolutely fantastic. You can't ask for more out of him. As you said, Jerome, 8 of 14 with a triple too.
Yeah,
with a triple.
I think 2 doubles too. And I thought it was interesting. Matt Underwood, who's, obviously also TV play-by-play voice, said last night, he goes, I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction. And he said this when Angel got his third hit of the game last night. He goes, the kid just looks confident. He goes, I know it's early, and I know it's a hot stretch. He goes, I don't think he goes back to Columbus this year. And I thought that was interesting for Matt Underwood to say that, and I thought it was a bold take. I'm following Matt Underwood's bold take, man. I know it's a small sample size, but that kid looks different than last year.
I'm not going to get roped into it too much because I know when we called him up last year, he started not this hot, but he did start hot,
yeah,
and then cooled down a lot, and then we had to send him back down. So, I've said this on the podcast before, but I'm very even keel when it comes to this.
Yeah,
I really try not to get too high in a 3 to 4 game sample size and try not to get too low out of a 3 to 4 game sample size. So obviously very much impressed with what Angel Martinez is doing, and I hope he keeps it up. Obviously he's not going to be batting over 500 the rest of the year, but somewhere above 260 if he's finishing the year, I'm going to be very happy with that. That's a bat that we did not expect in this lineup. And if he hits 10 bombs this year, I'm cool with it. You put him in the bottom 3, bat him 7 through 9, and maybe he's a spark plug for that bottom third of the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, at this point, look, Lane Thomas is in his free agent year. If he's healthy, which he's back healthy now after getting plunked on the wrist, he's back in the lineup tonight as we record this on Wednesday once again. Lane Thomas is going to play every day. He's in his walk year. So therefore, the way Gabby Arias is swinging the bat too, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention him. I mean,
yep.
He looks better than maybe he ever has, quite honestly. So he's going to be at second base. So to me, the two guys who need to start pulling their weight around there are Nolan Jones and Brian Rocchio, because otherwise they're not going to have their everyday spots anymore, because you could look at this one of two ways. Angel could become your everyday right fielder, Nolan to the bench, or you could shift probably Angel to second, move Gabby over to shortstop, and Rocchio to the bench. Those are the two guys who probably got to watch their backsides right now.
I actually think that, if he keeps playing as poorly as he has been, and I'm referring to Kyle Manzardo, I think you could see with the struggles that Jose has had in the field, I think there's actually a legitimate case that a couple weeks from now, if that trend continues to go the way that it is, I think we could see Jose being DH, and maybe it's Gabriel Arias over at third. Maybe Rocchio stays at short, Angel Martinez at second, and you keep that Noel Jones platoon and just hope that it figures itself out and right. I mean, that still ends up being a glaring hole in that lineup.
Right.
But, it is what it is at that point. You're kind of dealing with what you've got.
Well, yeah, and Manzardo got off to the super hot start. The 9-game road trip, he was fabulous, and he really hasn't done much since then. But I think, last night, you could see that, and Rick Manning said it on TV too, he does look like he's pressing a little bit. And the thing that I and a lot of other people forget is, Kyle Manzardo's still very young. So
was he 23?
Yeah, I think maybe 24
maybe.
max.
Yeah.
The thing that people, including me, forget is he's still going to go through quite a lot of peaks and valleys. And when you're a young player like that, the highs are real high and the lows are real low. And kind of how you told me to pump the brakes with Angel, maybe I'm
tell me to pump the brakes with Kyle.
Maybe I should pump the brakes. We all should pump the brakes with Kyle a little bit, right? Yeah. Look, man, it's hard. And I think now with almost all these guys throwing their heaters up over 96, 97, I don't think in our lifetime watching baseball, I don't think the jump from AAA to the bigs has ever been as steep as it is right now with how good pitching is.
Well, I think that's fair too, because we were just actually talking off the air about this a couple days ago about what you call them quad A players.
Yeah. Oh,
about players who kill it in AAA. But
I didn't coin that, by the way.
Well, I know, but that's what we were talking about the other day, though, was just the quad A players of players who absolutely rake in AAA, but can't seem to really get above, let's say, 215 in the majors. They're maybe even below the Mendoza line. And Will Brennan was one of those players that we had talked about.
Will Brennan's a quintessential quad A player. He really is. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. So, look, yeah, I mean, hard to complain right now. They'll go. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll have. I'm going to see them play in Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Where's some Browns gear there for me?
I'll be wearing some Guardians gear. We'll save the Browns gear when we go down there during football season.
Okay.
But so we'll see. I'll see them, this weekend. I'm 2-0 on the year. We both went on Friday.
Yeah.
The Gabby Arias special, man, that was a great. His defense and offense that game carried him through. So we'll see how they do there, and then they come home, and we'll get they'll measure up our first big barometer series. I guess we could call this Orioles one, maybe one. The Yankees come into town next week, so
yeah.
Followed by the Red Sox, who are in a little tough spell of their own right now. So that's where we are with the Guardians. Let's wrap it up, Kevin, as we talk about the Cavs, who are doing probably a whole lot of what you and I are doing, resting and waiting to see what goes on. All jokes aside, I know they actually did have an inter-squad scrimmage today, I believe, and Kenny's talked about trying to do his best to keep them as fresh as possible. The thing for the Cavs is they don't know who they're going to play yet and will not know until Friday night officially.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be between the Bulls and the Hawks. When it comes to the first round, is there a team out of those two that you would prefer to face? I know, ratings-wise, obviously it seems like it would be the Hawks just because of the DeAndre Hunter trade.
Yeah, and Nance and LeVert being down – or Nance, sorry. Niang and LeVert being down there. Look, I'd probably prefer to play Chicago. I mean, I don't think –
I would too.
I think they stink.
I think they stink too.
I mean,
and the Hawks have had our number this year.
I've actually said that on this podcast not too long ago when the Cavs blew them out. I mean, the Bulls are bad, and it just shows you that I sat here and criticized the Bulls for being pretty bad. There's just entirely way too many teams in the NBA that make this postseason.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't care that they don't technically make the postseason. This play-in thing's a crock of crap.
Yeah, it's past game 82, so I would consider it the postseason.
Yeah, you're right. And I know that the Cavs made it a few years ago, and it was fun. It was our first taste of postseason basketball, and forever. And we made it 3 years ago, but I'm sorry. Now that we're the 1 seed and we could sit here and rest on our laurels, the fans, the players damn well better not be. But I think this entire play-in thing is a crock of crap.
I agree. And coincidentally, in 2021, do you remember who actually bounced us out of the play-in tournament?
Oh, yeah, Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Sure.
Atlanta was, so.
I saw Karis LeVert was postseason Karis LeVert last night. Boy, did he have a rough one. And Orlando buried those guys right from the beginning.
I didn't even see the score of that game.
I saw my brother wanted me to flip the channel over there for a minute off the
Rob, he's a friend of the show.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah, you folks know him from quite a ways back, a few episodes, handful episodes.
It would have been in the first 5 episodes, 5-6 episodes probably.
He wanted me to flip the channel over there, and I did. And, right from the second we turned that thing on for a couple minutes, Orlando just dominated. I will say the only thing I saw of the Hawks that caught my eye was George Niang had a couple buckets when I flipped the channel.
Okay.
But that was about it.
I'll call my shot right now, depending on who we face in that series. I think if it's Cavs-Bulls, I think we sweep the Bulls. Cavs win in 4. If it's the Hawks, I do think the Hawks take 1 game. Probably in Atlanta, but I would say Cavs in 5.
I agree with every syllable you just said.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I do. I think they'd sweep the Bulls. Now, I know that as much as I just sat here and ragged on the Bulls, they do have a couple, like the kid who played at North Carolina with the huge hair.
Oh, Kobe White.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of his name. I could picture him, but I couldn't think of him.
Yep.
He's had a hell of a year, and he's really become a good player.
Very good player.
And Vucevic is still decent, I guess. There's some talent there.
They're a weird team. Like Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's on that team.
Yeah. Is Kevin Huerter on that team now? Because he got there in the 3. I think he is.
He might be. I can look that up for you. And then I think Patrick Williams is still there. Right?
Yeah, I think he is too. They haven't moved him. The one thing I'll say about Chicago, I think they have a hell of a coach in Billy Donovan.
Kevin Huerter is on the Bulls.
Yeah, because that was part of the whole Levine thing.
Right.
Yeah, I thought I was right about that. I'm glad. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Billy Donovan's a hell of a coach. That's probably the only thing. Billy Donovan will be a pain in the ass in that series at some point or another, I'm sure. I don't know enough to win a game. or get his guy. But we'll see what happens. But I think the tough thing for the Cavs right now is like staying fresh, like keeping that mindset no matter who it is. We got to sweep this thing. Our aspirations are way higher than the first round of the playoffs. So, at this point, I think the Cavs,
Eastern Conference Finals are bust.
Yeah, absolutely. So, not too much more to say there. And I think that's about it for the Cavs. Well, obviously, we'll do a big playoff. We'll be able to react to
a couple games. Actually, Game 2 will probably be going on while we're recording, I would imagine. Next Wednesday?
I think they'll probably play Tuesday, right?
I think it's Sunday, Wednesday Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, I believe, is how it's scheduled right now.
So, yeah. We'll be able to we will absolutely be able to react to a couple playoff games and hopefully a couple wins next week. We have a busy 100%. Show next week. The draft,
NBA playoffs,
Cavs playoffs. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Recap the Pirates series, the Guardians Pirates series, maybe even the Yankees series probably at that point.
Yep, because that's a day game next week.
A lot to talk about on CSR next week.
So make sure you join us. But before we go, it's time for odds and ends. Shout out to Phil Sprons. He's a friend of the program. Also,
absolutely
was on the program at one time. This guy will be competing in the Boston Marathon on Monday. That's a big day there in Boston. I know the natives love it up there. So Phil, best of luck. You're a hell of a runner, man, and keep it going and kick some ass.
We love you, buddy. Kick some ass, buddy. We're rooting for you.
All right, so shout out to him, and obviously for those of you who are into the running community, that's like the pinnacle of running is the Boston Marathon.
It's Super Bowl, basically.
It is. It's the biggest, like one of the best marathon. Huge day there. The Red Sox always play a day game. Big deal up there. So, Phil, good, best of luck, and we know you'll kick some ass. Good job.
Yes, sir.
And do a hell of a job. One other thing I wanted to get to in odds and ends, Kevin, and it relates back locally. The NIL structure is nuts, right? And we've talked about that, and you've voiced your displeasure, and I have too. It has left, the current NIL structure has left New Cleveland State. They have a new head coach who has 0 players on his roster right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's building from scratch every single year.
We're just talking about these Cleveland State Viking basketball players that are not going to go to the NBA demanding money and transferring and all. Like, get a hold of yourself.
Well, a couple of them graduated, I get that.
I mean, that's obviously not what I'm talking about. But
no, I get it. But it is insane that, like, to think that the new coach is there with 0 players on his roster right now.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Tough job to be a coach in college athletics right now. I mean, you're rebuilding from scratch every single offseason. I think basketball is even worse than football because of the nature of the sport.
I would say so too.
We had over 1,800 players have entered this thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely preposterous.
That's insane.
It's insane.
All right, that'll do it for us. Make sure that give a shout out to your boys. Give a thumbs up. Make sure to listen and rate this podcast, please, and also give us a good review. We'd appreciate that too. So you can also find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're available all 3 places. So make sure you give a thumbs up for your boys. Leave us a comment, and then also interact with us. We're on TikTok. We're on X or Twitter. We're on the Gram
at CLE Sports Realm
for all those. And I think that's it, Derek. Did I miss anything? You're looking at me like I did.
No.
We good?
I think he's content with the episode.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if Derek thinks we're done, I think we're done. Kevin thinks we're done. That's it. We are done. We'll see you next week. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Go Cavs.